Hello, so welcome everybody to this talk, and this talk is the healing powers of the subconscious mind with Bal Dasarathy. I hope I got the pronunciation right, Bal.
Close
um,
enough.
Thank you, thank you so much. So I'm going to pop everybody. Make sure you keep yourselves on mute, everybody. And what we're going to do is, if you want to ask a question, please do. Put your question in the chat box, and then we're going to address. Belle's going to address your questions at the end. So put your questions all the way through in your chat box, and then we'll address them. And you can speak at the end and ask your questions as you wish at the end. So who is Bal, and what on earth are we talking about here? So Bal, we met about 8 months ago, and it was all online actually, and we were in a group together, one of millions of groups as we all are, and he asked a question in the group: who knows about above and below, so below? And I thought, well, I know all about that. You know, some of you already know me in the pain-free method, that what you're feeling within yourself is reflected outside it in your world, and vice versa. So it's something that a concept I've been very familiar with for many years. So I was like, yep. And we got chatting, and oh my gosh, Bal, we had the most in-depth conversations, and we spoke for, I don't know, was it hours over time, and just pinging each other's knowledge, and it was really extraordinary and delightful. So Bal's going to explain a little bit about his background, but Bal is a cybersecurity guy, professional by trade, and his spiritual, can I say, awakening was from day to night. And what he hasn't, I don't know all the details of what you've been studying, Bal, but oh my goodness, books and concepts and the Bible and goodness me, absolute flying in the spiritual world. And I'm really excited that Bal's agreed to come and have a chat with us and share his revelations. And Bal himself, he says that he only kind of discovered spirituality 8, 9 months ago, but I like to think our soul's journey goes a lot deeper than that, and a lot far beyond that. And some of you already know some of the things I say, like we're connected to everything. So okay, then 8 months, but of revelations and awakening. But I'm sure it goes a lot deeper than that. So without further ado, introducing Bal here. And Bal, can you just introduce yourself, and how on earth did you get into this revelationary knowledge? And
Sure. Good to be with you out there. Good to see you all. Very good evening to you. Yeah, thanks for the very lovely introduction. Um, let me say who I was, or what my thinking was before. So I was very much sort of an atheist slash agnostic. I wasn't sure. I was probably more towards the agnostic, and I had a keen interest in science and studying the physical sciences and all of those things. Including my profession, which is cybersecurity. And I was always looking for, what is the purpose of life? Why are we here? Um, that's been a sort of a very deep question I always had. And the materialist explanation of how life started and who we are and all of these only goes just so far. And um, it can't be an accident that you know humans are the by and far, so the most intelligent species. We have such enormous gifts, which are not available to other species. So there must be something more divine in man. And that was the sort of the beginning of when I started to look into these things. And I happened to go to a conference in October last year, which is called the Conference for Human Consciousness and Evolution, TCCHE. That was a weekend conference which had many very good speakers on human consciousness and mysticism. And yeah, I just soaked all of that in over the weekend, and I was then on a mission to understand all of these things in much more detail, and also not just understand the theory, but understand how to apply them as well, which is what I've been learning. And I'm by no means an expert in this. So but I would like to share my views and insights with your audience, and hopefully it will be practical and educational, and hopefully would inspire your audience also to look into these things.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Bal. Yeah. So what did you learn? What would you like to share with us?
Sure. I wanted to discuss. I want to go into in depth into the topic of the power of the subconscious mind, and in particular the healing powers of the subconscious mind. So for those of you in the audience, I'm sure most people here would know that the human mind consists of the conscious part, which is where your rational thinking, how you perceive with your five senses and all of that comes from. And then you have the subjective conscious or the subconscious mind, uh, uh, which is doing a lot of the things in the background that you're not consciously aware of, like your breathing, for example, at what rate you need to breathe, um, all the millions of chemical reactions that are happening in your body at any given point, all the electrical activity, replacing your dead cells, healing your body. Your subconscious is a machine that works 24/7 as well. So even when your conscious mind is asleep, when you sleep, your subconscious is still working in the background. It's doing all of these bodily activities, and we normally measure when we measure things like intelligence or IQ. We only focus on the conscious mind, uh, uh, but the subconscious mind has far more brilliant capabilities than the conscious mind. And by tapping into the power of the subconscious, we can all uh, uh, we can all leverage this infinite power that is within all of us. Think of it like we all have a supercomputer that we can access. It's just most people are not even aware of this supercomputer called the subconscious mind. A lot of the famous artists, musicians, they will tell you that a lot of these brilliant ideas didn't come to them consciously, but it came to them subconsciously, like in a dream or vision or intuition. So I think we can all benefit in whatever walk of life we are with tapping into this supercomputer called the subconscious mind that we all have. Think of it like let's say a bar of steel that is magnetized is no different physically to a bar of steel that is not magnetized. It's just that the molecules are arranged in the north-south direction, which then gives it the magnetic properties. So even the block of steel that is not magnetized also has those magnetic properties. It's just not being aligned properly to express it. So the same goes for the human mind, is we all have infinite capabilities, but our own assumptions of what we are capable of or what we are not capable of is what defines who we are. Think of it like when you're born with a clean slate, and then everyone around you has written stuff on that slate, like you're good at dancing, you're good at math, you're not so good at singing. So all of these things have been written on this slate of life, which is you, into your subconscious. And this happens through what is called suggestion. When you're a child, you're very impressionable. So what your parents or your teachers tell you in school goes straight into is a suggestion that is accepted by your conscious mind, because it comes from someone in a position of authority. So if you tell a child that he's stupid, he'll never be good at math, most likely that impression would be that suggestion would be accepted by the child, and the child will then express those which has been impressed. So we've all we're all getting suggestions all the time when we listen to the media, when we open the newspaper. we are constantly bombarded by these suggestions, and some of them can be destructive also, like things like fear. So what is news? It's all fear-based narratives, isn't it? That oh, we're going to have a climate disaster, we're going to have a war, we're going to have energy crisis, and all of these are suggestions. And when these suggestions are accepted by the individual, then these fears are then expressed in their lives in any number of ways. A very good demonstration of subconscious suggestion is hypnosis. So I'm sure you've seen either on stage or on videos of people on stage who've been hypnotized and they've been given a suggestion by the operator. Like for instance, someone is told that they are a dog and they start barking like a dog, lapping up milk from the cup. Or a person has just been given plain water and been told that they're being given a very strong alcoholic drink. They would then accept that suggestion and they would play the part of a drunk person, even though they've just been given water. A man can be told that a man can have ice cubes put on his neck and told that this is a very hot plate, and he would exhibit the skin rashes and the blisters on his neck as if it was the case. So what you can see by these examples is your subconscious doesn't know the difference between fact or fiction. So if that subconscious assumption has been accepted by you, then it will express what has been impressed. So even though I'm just giving you plain water, you will still play the part of a drunk person. Even though I've just put ice cubes on your neck, you will express the symptoms of being burnt because I told you it was a hot plate. So you can see the power of the subconscious mind there, that it doesn't know the difference between fact or fiction, and it is compulsive. Your subconscious mind is also compulsive. So when something has been impressed, it will express it faithfully.
And knowing that, how does the subconscious mind heal from that basis of what it does?
Sure. So in I would say most of pharmaceutical interventions are mostly ones that relieve the symptoms. So you've got a migraine, you've got pain in your arms. What the doctor usually gives you is things that suppress the symptoms, or painkillers, for example. And it is not the drug that's healing you, but it's your own mind that is healing you. What suppressing the symptoms does, it takes your mind away from the problem and allows your mind to heal. So you sort of forget for the time being that you have that problem because your symptoms have been suppressed by the medication. So in either case, it is the mind that is doing the healing anyways, in the background. And the way you can use your subconscious mind to heal when say a doctor says that this is incurable, for example, is you can change the subconscious assumption that you have that disease, and think of it like, how did that suggestion come into place into your mind in the first place? It was a person in authority, like a doctor, who told you that you have this disease, and we've diagnosed based on these tests that you have this disease, and you then and then the person in authority has also told you that this is unfortunately it's irreversible, and it gets worse and worse and worse, and you've accepted that suggestion because that suggestion came from a person who is knowledgeable in the field of medicine, and he's got many years of practice, and that's what the latest literature says. So you've accepted that assumption, and your subconscious will faithfully express what you've accepted as an assumption. So if you want to heal, then you must change that assumption in your subconscious mind. One of the techniques that is very useful is prayer. But I will firstly define what is the right way to pray. So we are told by most of the mainstream religions that prayer is petitioning. So you need to petition to an outside power that please heal me or please give me this. So you're sort of pleading to some being in the sky, for example. Um, that is not the right way to pray. We are told in the Gospel of Mark that whatsoever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. So what this is saying is the right way to pray is more of thanksgiving. So you already assume that your prayer has been granted, and you express gratitude that thank you for for granting my wishes. So rather than petitioning, which is admitting that you already don't have what you're asking for, to assuming that you have received what you've asked for and to give thanksgiving. So prayer is really thanksgiving, and that is the right way to pray for your prayers to be answered. Um, um, I'll give you some examples from a book that I read, which is The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. Very good book. A man had a accident. He fell off the swing when he was quite young, and he's been having trouble with his back ever since he fell off. So he's had many surgeries over the course of his life, and none of them seem to have fixed his back sufficiently. So he's always been in pain. So he heard of this method of prayer via Thanksgiving, and he used a bit of his own imagination to actually make it more colorful. So he had a distinct memory of the day when he fell off the swing, when he was playing on the swing in the park. So he reimagined that scene, that instead of falling off the swing, he jumped and he landed straight on his feet. And he was, he had he timed it perfectly, and he he didn't suffer any injuries. And he played that scene over and over in his mind, that of that perfect landing. And then in his imagination, he asked his mum to come see that, look, I can jump perfectly without falling. And his mum witnessed that and said, wow, that's brilliant. And he played this over and over in his mind for many days. And then his pain, because his subconscious had the assumption that his back problem is due to that injury that he had when he was a child. By changing that memory, by replaying a positive one, that he landed on his feet instead, his subconscious assumption was changed, and all of the symptoms that he was exhibiting, like his back pain, went away within a space of few months. What so many surgeries and expensive treatments could not fix, the power of his imagination was able to reverse that.
It's like a locked-in story, isn't it? And they say that habits are repeated thoughts, and if that person keeps remembering a horrible thing, as you said, the body doesn't know the difference between fact and fiction.
Correct.
So that goes along that line, isn't it? That if he's doing this game of reimagining that awful experience to be one that he wants, then the body will automatically reflect what he's feeling and thinking, and amazing.
Indeed, the fourth great hermetic principle is the principle of correspondence, which is, as you alluded to, is as above, so below. So your inner thoughts are expressed in the flesh. So by changing your inner talkings and inner thoughts, you can change the outer world also, and you can heal your body and all of these good things by changing your thoughts to positive ones rather than destructive, negative ones.
Amazing, but easier said than done sometimes.
Indeed, it's a lifetime of practice to become an expert at this, I would say. But we are all creatures of habit, and it's not always easy changing habits that we've had for a long time, which include the habitual thinking patterns we have. But with enough determination and a will and a strong desire to change, those habits can also be changed.
Absolutely. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Indeed. There was another example from the book I read where a man was paralyzed from the hip down for many years. And one day he was lying on his bed and he smelt smoke in the house, and there was the kitchen was on fire, and he knew that his kids were in the house. So for that moment, he forgot that he was actually paralyzed, and he jumped out of bed and carried his kids to safety. So
That's amazing. So it's his need, his wish and his need and his drive, saving his kids, overrode his
previous
paralysis.
subconscious assumption, yeah,
Was that a real story, or that was a
that was
concept?
the real story in the book.
Wow, extraordinary. I mean, I've seen many amazing things that if you told somebody, it doesn't it's difficult to believe, but I've seen many things. The body reacts. It certainly does. And the mind, the conscious mind, can intercept the natural flow of what happens in the body and the subconscious mind. It just
Indeed, we are infinitely more powerful than we think we are.
absolutely. So what created the body?
So while you were in your mother's womb, it was your it was your mother's mind, subconscious mind, that created your body, and it is the same after you're born. It's your own subconscious mind that's been in charge of your body, creating all of your organs, replacing your dead cells. Do you know that every few months, all of your cells are renewed, as in so you're actually a new person in a few months. So all of your cells you had 3 months ago are not there anymore. So it's completely created your body from scratch in 3 months.
Absolutely. It takes 3 weeks for the liver to be completely renewed, and it's not like sort of 1 minute's dead and next minute's alive or something, but it's a constant regeneration of cells, and the eyes regenerate in just 2 days. That's why people can have eye surgery and they're up and about. They're seeing within a couple of days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and quite often the limitations or the subconscious suggestions that we have accepted that this is irreversible is what blocks that healing from happening. That
Absolutely.
if the mind can create all of your organs, then it knows how to fix them as well, if they're
Absolutely.
broken.
Amen to that. So what this is very deep and deep concepts, and you're mentioning the Bible and God and deep concepts. I mean, Bal, I'm really amazed and just blown away by the change. You went from a security guy, cybersecurity professional, and then to all these revelations. But you said something really significant, I thought at the beginning, that why you had that kind of burning of why are we here? And that sort of triggered you. So what sort of things have you learned and read about and discovered on this 8 month journey, which has been incredible?
Yeah, I've read quite a number of books by very good authors of primarily the New Thought movement. I don't know if you've come across that term before.
I don't know.
Um, so the New Thought movement started in the US in the 19th century. Even though there's nothing new about it, it's actually ancient thought, um, sort of reinterpreting scripture in a spiritual fashion, not just Christian, but Eastern tradition scriptures as well, and utilizing things like affirmations, imagination, and the power of the mind to to sort of live a fuller and a happier and more effective life. And I've been very heavily influenced by the authors from the New Thought school, and I'd be more than happy to share some of the links of the good books that I've read. And I
That
think
was
this is even though as a practitioner, this is it will take a long time to master these techniques, but having a keen interest in them is the most important thing, and how it can change and impact your life in a very positive fashion.
Thank you. That would be great. And then I'll put it into the replay page so everyone can see and follow the links as they please. That would be great. And so, I mean, this is such a revelation. I'm bowled over by the shift and change and this new world you've stepped into so intensively and expansively. And how has it affected you, Bal? How has it? Are your friends looking at you weird or something, or are they open arms? Or are you meeting lots of new people? What's been the change in your life following this? Why are we here? Question. What you've discovered in these last 8 months.
Yeah, I think the definition of bondage is believing in an external cause to the circumstances of your life. And these are through subconscious suggestions that you have accepted. Things like, oh, I'll never be rich, or the people who are rich have the power. I didn't go to the right school, so I'll never get to the right place in life. I was told by my teacher that I'll never be good at music. When you realize that all of these are simply suggestions that you have accepted, it opens the door to infinite possibilities if you can change those suggestions and rather impress positive suggestions instead. And I think it can be useful for. I'll give you one example of how a suggestion can affect different people differently. Let's say I was on a cruise and I went to a passenger there who was sailing for the first time. As I said to her, "Oh my God, look at your eyes and your skin look really pale. Looks like you're going to be seasick." Even though I was just playing a prank on her. And if she accepts that suggestion, which she probably would, because it's her first time on the cruise, so she probably already had anxiety about seasickness, and she would most likely be sick, and she would accept my suggestion that she's going to have seasickness. But if I tried the same thing with say the captain of the ship, who's been on hundreds of journeys, he already knows that he has immunity from seasickness. So that suggestion, he would just laugh it off and say, "That's preposterous. I know you're just joking." So the same suggestion can impact people in different ways, depending on if their conscious mind accepts the suggestion in order for it to be impressed upon the subconscious or not. So this pilot's conscious mind knew that that's preposterous because he's been on so many journeys and it's never happened to him before. So your conscious mind is like the gatekeeper. It is protecting your subconscious from suggestions that can be destructive to you. But emotions such as fear, for example, can impress destructive suggestions on your subconscious mind, which would then be expressed. You have to you have to you have to make your conscious guard the gates better to not have these negative suggestions being impressed on your subconscious.
Or question them, isn't it? Or question. I often say to people, like they'll say to me, I don't know, for example, say it's like medical things. My doctor said there's I've got to have an operation for that, and I say to them, well, do you want an operation for that? And it's not saying any decision, but it's questioning the belief that you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Just question it and see what you tell yourself.
Mm-hmm.
See what happens.
And sometimes if these assumptions are deep, deep in your subconscious, which have been accepted in the past, the good news is they can be reversed with an opposite suggestion. Like in hypnotherapy, for example. One of my friends, he used to be a smoker for many years. He went to one session of hypnotherapy. So he had a deep subconscious suggestion that he had accepted that, I am addicted to nicotine and I need to smoke. The therapist was able to change that subconscious assumption that no, you're not addicted to nicotine and you don't need to smoke. You're not addicted. And just after that one session of 1 hour, he never smoked again in his life. So that's the power of suggestion.
It is, isn't it? And I often find, if I'm triggered by something or somebody says something, especially if it's personally to me, like they'll say something that triggers me. If I can get in there quick, I'll say to myself, if it's a feeling I don't like, I'll do something quickly to divert from it. It's not always easy, Sometimes it'll be somebody close, somebody you care about that might say something. As you say, like subconscious thoughts and concepts, suggestions can go really, really deep from the day you were born and what you've been brought up in.
Exactly. One other example I'll quote from the book, The Subconscious Power, the Subconscious Mind, is in the 19th century, the Christian missionaries were cursed by the voodoo doctors in Africa because they were taking their customers away. So these missionaries were taking the voodoo doctors' customers away. So they would curse these missionaries, and they would have a messenger deliver a package of skull and bones to the missionaries. That was a symbol that they've been cursed by the witch doctor. But the missionaries had no impact on that because they just laughed at it. They did not believe that the voodoo doctor had any of these occult powers. But the people who were brought up in the tradition in these African villages, they believed that the voodoo doctor had these occult powers. And if someone was cursed by the voodoo doctor, they would get ill or even die because they strongly believed that these voodoo doctors had the power. So their suggestion was accepted because of the belief that they had, whereas the missionaries did not have that belief that these people had the power, and hence the suggestion was not accepted by them. So it did not have an impact on them.
So when it's a really strong thing, like a tribal or a family or a culture thing, or it goes way back, so I believe you too that things can change on the turn of a coin. But when things go way back and you're living your whole life according to certain beliefs or ideas, I mean, what's is that the conscious mind then that blocks that? Is that like a safety thing or a repetition thing or a familiar story that?
Yeah, it's a defense mechanism quite often, which like, let's say if you had a negative experience, then you've impressed that fear and the thought of doing something, like say if you got a fear of heights, for example, that your subconscious will make sure that you never climb, you never get high because it is protecting you from what you impressed on it. But if you change that assumption, then that fear goes away. But the fears have a place as well. So it can protect you, but at the same time, it can also be destructive if it's irrational.
I totally agree. I mean, just thinking about the typical fear like spiders. I don't know if anyone else has a fear of spiders, but I've always been frightened of spiders or the dark, since I was a little girl. But when I had children, I forced myself to override it because I didn't want them to be scared. And it's really interesting watching my children grow up and how they deal with spiders. And I know some of it's from my own fears, but I forced myself to override it. And, I'm not sure, I'm not totally au fait with it, but I can take certain spiders or just override, be the parent for them to help them through that block. And, I've overridden, forced myself by circumstance.
One of the techniques I've read to overcome some of these irrational fears is to actually confront them, not in the flesh, but in your imagination. So if you're scared of spiders, then imagine a tarantula crawling over you, to the point where it feels as if it is physically there, and then that changes your subconscious assumption because you do not have the fear when you imagine that event again. that sort of erases the previously held subconscious assumption that I am scared of spiders.
I'll try it. It's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, I work all the time with people who of physical challenges of different symptoms, and I notice people often will have beliefs. They'll blurt out a certain something like I don't know, for example, I can't think of something exactly, but like nobody likes winter or something. So they'll say something like a statement suddenly, and I think, oh, that's interesting. And I know it's not true because not everybody believes that statement, but for that person, that statement is, I call it a truism. And when you have a belief in a statement, it's not necessarily true, but it feels true to you. It's a real thing for you, and you'll live by that thing, good, bad, or ugly, whatever that statement is. And we all have them. We all have these sort of statements we suddenly say. Is that the conscious mind or the subconscious mind, or like repetition, or what?
So your words are very powerful, and your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a joke and the truth. It doesn't know the difference between fact and fiction. So you have to be very careful with the words you use and the thoughts you have, because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between fact or fiction, between constructive and destructive thoughts. So if you catch yourself thinking of something you don't desire in your life, then stop it and change it to something you do desire. It's a whole new way of living. We are conditioned to think about what we don't want for most of the day, because when we turn on the news, what do we get? We get events and circumstances which we don't desire. So that's propaganda. Is someone who's feeding you those premises wants power over you if you accept their suggestions. So
You're really strong. You're really strong, very clear, Bal. And I know anytime, all this stuff that we've all been through these last few years, anytime I mentioned anything negative, you say, no, that's not positive, Althea. Like, no, it's not, is it?
exactly.
And you would
and
not
it's
accept any negative thing I said to you. Just, no, Althea. So you're very clear.
because our thoughts become things. So
Mm.
yeah, we have enormous powers at our disposal, and we should use that wisely.
Absolutely. So how has this changed your life, Bal? Knowing these concepts and understandings and realizations, do you look at your life differently? Do you look at your friends and the world differently now?
Yes, I give people more the benefit of the doubt rather than be suspicious of others or those kind of things, which we're sort of programmed to think from a young age that, oh, be careful, you can't trust anyone. He's gonna swindle you out of your money or this or that. But doesn't mean to say you should be naive. But unless proven otherwise, hold the highest opinion of others, and um, that's the way you can, because actually they would then also express in ways you cannot think your assumptions of themselves. I'll give you an example from one of the books I read, again, a true story. In this school, there was an incorrigible student who was very destructive to the learning of the other kids. Like she would swear, um, she had very bad manners, and all the teachers of the school unanimously decided that this child needs to be expelled from the school at the end of the term. But one of the teachers knew about these laws of the mind, and she thought, okay, let me try this. So before she went to bed, she imagined a scene that this child said good morning to her. She's never said good morning to any of the teachers ever before, and she smiled, and she never smiled before as well. And she played this scene over and over again in her mind before she went to sleep. And when she turned up at school the next day, this child said good morning and smiled, and miraculously the child was transformed. Um, uh, to the point where you would not recognize the previous version of this person, of the student. And that actually is a very interesting idea, that her concept that this child is incorrigible and bad mannered made the child act in that fashion. So by changing her concept or assumption in her subconscious mind that no, she said good morning and she's a nice student, that changed the behavior of the student within overnight. I
So
mean,
that's
that is
changing.
powerful.
Totally, that's amazing, and it's interesting. It's changing her behavior and her thought patterns, and so she's giving off some kind of vibe, and she's expecting a smile and a hello,
Mhm,
and that changed the her outer world, which is the child in this case. But she
mhm,
changed her world, because that's the thing, is a lot often we can get into blame, and it's because of this circumstance or that person or my parents or something,
mhm.
or the world at large. My life is difficult because of ABC, and it's really easy to go into blame. But that I think that's disempowering yourself. But this, what you say with the story, this is incredibly empowering.
Indeed, the only thing you need to change is self. Forget about changing other people. Like, I'm sure she would have not succeeded by changing this child through you know, through external means, even though that may have worked. But by changing her concept of what this child is, she changed the outside world to reflect her changed state of mind.
Amazing, amazing. And I'm expecting everybody to give it a go, change their past and change their difficult neighbor or difficult relationship or whatever you may be challenged with, or maybe your own self, your own history of things that you want to that weren't very nice for you, and give it a go and follow Bel's suggestions, his suggestions, and let that affect you.
Wonderful. Shall we go into a moment's silence where we sort of contemplate and reflect on what we talk about and what we've heard, and then we'll open up the floor for questions. Cool. Yeah. I'll open up the questions. Althea, you can go through some of the chat questions, and then we'll see if anyone's got anything to say.
Yeah, would anyone like to ask about a question, or share perhaps something you've got from this talk this evening? You can either just unmute yourself or put something in the chat and I'll read it out. How have you found the things he said? How has that affected you, and has it affected you? Yeah, please go ahead, Alan. Feels
Hello
like
and thank you. I'm honoured and humbled already to know Althea. We've connected before, and I feature your work on my website that I co-founded a couple of years ago with Maria Hennings Hunt. And I've got to know Bal quite well over the last
Ireland.
couple of years, 3 years maybe. Bal has taught me an enormous amount, and he's taught me to recognize what I was doing without realizing and without being able to articulate it, but I had been manifesting things. I do that now. And up until now, I hadn't understood how that was happening. And Bal has taught me to understand this and to join up his work with the work of others that I've been studying and make a lot more sense of this all. I think it's extraordinarily profound, and I want to say thank you to Althea and particularly to Bal for what you are continuing to teach me. It is absolutely life changing and part of my own personal rebirth in the deepest sense. So thank you ever so much. Thank you.
That's brilliant to hear.
amazing. And how has it changed your life knowing these new things and concepts and being guided, Alan? What's the difference in your life these days?
I have understood now. I understand a lot more about reframing my past, because I used to present myself as someone who had experienced enormous traumas, layers and layers of traumas, and I have. But saying that does not serve me. The past is gone. To what extent the past even exists anyway. But I am strong and I have grown through those traumas and I am enormously powerful now. And this has got nothing to do with money, although that is coming to me now. More importantly, I have my health and I work for the higher good. And I see myself as a conduit now, and I am a more powerful conduit to help others when I uh, let go of who I thought I was. It's a grief and growth thing, I think. And so that I don't present myself in terms of someone who has been through all this, because that's gone. I am me reborn, extraordinarily, fearlessly, lovingly, powerful
Amazing.
in all kinds of ways, and that is yeah, well,
Wonderful.
it's beyond words. I can't put it into words how powerful and meaningful that is. Thank you.
Very good, Alan. Whatever you attach after I am, you become. So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
let the weak say I am strong, as it says in the Bible.
Amazing. And I love how, you've had all these revelations, Val, and you've changed your life and exploring and expanding incredibly, and then you're sharing and making a difference on people's lives. I just love that. I think that's what true healing is, that we understand something, you learn something that's good for you and it changes your life positively, and then you just share it out there. I think that's as it should be. And I think that's
What
absolutely
what
beautiful.
what you share, you get back. So there's actually no unselfish sharing as well, because ultimately it all comes back. So there's the person who gives shall receive.
That's beautiful, and I'd love to share these quotes and things. I'm going to listen back to the recording and add these to the replay page, and so people can follow it up. The quotes from the Bible are beautiful. I don't think people speak enough. I mean, I know a lot of Christians do, but it's like almost you can't talk about God these days. But for goodness sake, ha ha. I think that's sacrilege. It's
That was a great revelation for me as well. The I won't go into much detail here because it's actually a very, very big topic, but there is a different interpretation of scriptures, in particular the Bible, which is in a metaphysical sense, as in not physical people or events that occurred 2000 years ago, and with the premise that the ancient storytellers used stories and characters and personalities to tell a more deeper story that plays out in the consciousness of every human. And these stories come to life when you see them through that lens. All of these stories are parables and allegories that convey a much deeper spiritual meaning, which has been fascinating for me to learn about.
Amazing, isn't it? And as you said, one of the sort of first concepts that you had for a long time were, why are we here? So that sort of inner, I see that as like, your inner sort of spiritual wanting meaning or something, and that led you to all of this. Why do you think it happened at just 8 months ago? Why then, and not like years ago, or 3 years ago, or 5 years ago, 50 years ago, or whatever?
Yeah, good question. I think sometimes these things come to you at the time when you're maybe ready to accept them. So it's whether if you introduce an idea to someone who's not ready for it, maybe mentally, then maybe they would reject the idea. Either that, or maybe it was just inevitable, it was going to happen, and it was just a question of time. And what maybe seemed as coincidences, because I went to this conference, which actually was by coincidence. I wasn't planning to go there. A friend of mine, her sister couldn't go, so she had a free ticket, and she showed me the event that she's going to, and I think a day before they had last minute availability for the conference. So yeah, it was a nice coincidence, or I don't believe in coincidence, so I probably attracted it. And by the way, that conference is in London this weekend as well, and I can see that there are some tickets available. It's called the website is tcche.org. It's a wonderful event.
Thanks, Bal.
I highly recommend.
I'll put that in the. I'll hopefully get the replay out tonight to everybody, but certainly tomorrow morning. So I'll get that out I'll try to get it out tonight if I can. So everyone's got the link straight away. Thank you, Bal. That's amazing. And yeah, I don't believe in coincidences either. And that's as it should be. As you say, when people are ready, isn't it? When you're ready, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Mm-hmm.
It's really true.
Indeed. And it's never too late to change your concept of self. And there's a quote by Blake which says, "I die every day." What this implies is I die to the previously held concept of myself. So every day when I change my concept of myself, I die to my previous self. And this is the crucifixion and resurrection, the symbology of crucifixion and resurrection. Your old self is crucified and your new self is resurrected.
That's fascinating, isn't it? And we were talking earlier about how the body regenerates all the time. You're a completely new person every few weeks, months, whatever. And so this is more on the sort of spiritual level, behavioral level, psychological level, isn't it? That quote comes in, that you let go of what you were and what you think you were.
Indeed, it's called. So the Bible is actually it's the greatest psychological book ever written. So it explains in story form how you can get into trouble, and also how you can get out of trouble. I think all the problems we have in human society, like theft, murder, illness, all of those things are described in story form in the Bible as problems that can be overcome, which is fascinating.
It's fascinating, isn't it, as a guide, and there's so many levels. I hear so many people talk about the Bible of different levels, from the concepts and the imagery of it and the concepts of it, or some people say it's the real people in it, and so many levels. And it's a guide, isn't it? And then becoming aware of yourself, of your how you think and the statements you say and the beliefs you hold or things you've been through. So wonderful, and absolutely. And so, are there any more questions for everybody before we close? Would you like to ask Bal anything or share what you've got from this call? Or has it triggered something for you? Did it give you something you didn't know before? Or did it confirm beliefs that you had already? Any more questions? So okay, so Bal, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. And I hope this has inspired everybody and given some nuggets of inspiration and concepts, perhaps new ideas, perhaps confirming things that someone's believed and held before. Yes, there's going to be a recording for everybody. I'm going to be putting it out. I'm going to try to make it tonight because Bal said there was a special event coming up. So I'll be putting that together as soon as I can. And yeah, so we're going to be sharing Bal's email, and also he's putting together a Telegram group at the moment. So you'll be able to share your views and have a chat and get to know each other, share your concepts with each other. Since I've known Bal, you're often, aren't you, sharing sayings and thoughts, inspirations, and it just keeps nudging me. And I thought, oh yeah, that thing and this thing, and just very inspiring, Bal. And as Alan shared with us already, how it's changed his life. You've changed his life, which is just incredible, and I'm so happy to witness that with you both. So if there aren't any more questions, thank you, Bal, so much. You will receive this recording, and do get in touch with Bal. There is recently he did another interview talking about manifesting with these same concepts.
It was I think metaphysics was the topic, but yeah, manifesting was a subset. Yeah, I'll share the link for that as well. That was with another friend of mine.
Fantastic. It was really interesting. So I do encourage everybody to go and listen to that one. It's another level of what Bal's been talking about tonight, about the subconscious mind, the conscious mind, and our belief systems. So I think you'll really enjoy that, to listen to that one as well. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining this call. And thank you, Bal, for sharing your views. I'll bring this to a close. And yeah, start changing the horrible things that may have happened to you, and start imagining what you want to happen for you. And I would love to hear from you, or tell Bal, share with Bal what's changed for you. It'd be really exciting, and to share that too. For anyone
Thank you very much, Althea. I would like to say, congratulations also for all the good things you've been doing with the pain-free method, and I'm a huge fan. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So good night, everybody. Have a lovely evening, and I'll see you on the next talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you.